Now, I'm going to ask about this, and I know you will have lots to say about that. And so let me switch a little bit to the children that you have. And I'm glad I have a little bit of a balance here. I have one with a female, I have one with a male. Right. So let's start with the one with a female. Right. You've talked about Abigail. How much do you feel involved in her care? Do you feel listened to? And what do you feel generally about this, about Abigail and her care in its entirety? What can you say about it in relations to yourself?
Well, personally, I am involved with in our care day to day, even much more than I would have loved to be, in the sense of the should I say cultural, when you're going looking at it culturally. I mean, because I I do everything with Abigail. I mean, I can bathe her, I can change her if it needs changing of the pads, whatever it is, I'm there. I can do it. I love to do it. The truth is, sometimes I'm doing it, and then at the back of my mind, I'm like, wow, should you be doing this really at this level? She's going to be a teenager. Should you still be, I mean, handling and doing all this for a young girl? I mean, if I were doing that for any of her sisters, they would actually, I would not even get close because they wouldn't allow me, you know. So, so when I do this, you know, but yes, that sometimes those are some of the concerns, some of the cries I take to the Lord, some of the is it anger? Is that the right word? Those are some of my low times. Those are some of the low feelings I have when I'm doing those things. Now, I must be clear. It's I love to do those things because I love to let her know I'm there when I'm doing it. I talk to her, she talks to me, she makes the noise, she smiles when she knows I'm there, I'm the one who's doing it. And so it doesn't bother me as such at that point. But it's usually when I just sit back and I'm thinking about it and I'm like, oh, should I still be doing this? You know, there's that disconnect sometimes. But um, uh, I think she makes up for it because that smile when I'm doing it, that acknowledgement when I'm speaking to her, and she recognizes I'm the one. I think it just goes a long way for me as an individual to just move on from that. And I may be low thinking about it tonight, and then I'm doing it the following day. So
Mm.
it's just one of those things, like I said earlier, that
Mhm.
we just get on with it.
Mm.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
do you feel listened to when it comes to making decisions? I know, you know, with male, I mean, with fathers and mothers, when it comes to making like major decisions around the children, you know, you're talking with other professionals and all that. How much do you feel your views are being acknowledged regarding her, or you know, or how do you cope with, how do you handle that as a family generally?
Well, I think, to be honest, over time, I've realized that professionals usually listen more to my wife than they do to me. So whatever views I think I feel very strongly about, I get my wife to feel strongly about it too, because I know that a lot of the professionals don't. How do I put this? It's like they generalize when they're with her, and they have a feeling that okay, I don't have as much input as I have. Many of them still, or some of them, let me not say many, uh, cannot understand that I do the things I do based on the kind of work and the kind of hours I do, they can't really correlate how I can still be working full time and caring for her when she's back from school, going back to work, coming back and doing what I do. And so sometimes, even when I'm talking about her meds and I'm saying, oh, she's taking this, she's taking that, you will still hear, okay, we'll confirm with mom or we'll confirm from mom. And so I just leave it at that because I know they probably don't believe as such that I do as much as I do. But the truth is, as long
That affect
as
it in any way, or how do you handle that?
no, I just said it. I mean, I get as long as what I want done is done. I don't mind if it gets done by them listening to me or by them listening to my wife. I don't mind. As long as what we need to do, what needs to be done is done, I'm all right with it. Even if by the newspaper they get to do it or the radio, honestly, I really can't be bothered. As long as what needs to be done is done. That's the primary thing
Thank
for me.
you. All right. Thanks. So, Mark, over to you. Your care of for James. I mean, how old is James now?
So James, next week, James is 19. So he's coming up to his 19th birthday, and but in many ways, and thinking about things like personal care and all of that, he still needs all of that personal care done for him. He still needs somebody to help him in the toilet, in the bath, in every way. And so I do that, and just used to doing that. And there are moments, AJ, like you were saying, sometimes there are those moments where I think James is 18, nearly 19, and I'm having to help him with all this personal care stuff, and and you think, wow, that's hard, but then there are things that sort of as well direct me to stuff Jesus did. Jesus washed people's feet. Jesus reached out and touched a guy who had leprosy. You go back 2,000 years, and that was possibly one of the most counter-cultural things that Jesus did. You didn't touch somebody with leprosy for obvious reasons. It's still a very serious disease now, but back then it was a life sentence, and that was it. Jesus reached out and touched him, and dealt with the yucky stuff, dealt with the hard stuff, and taught us that we need to be servants. We're to serve, not to be served. And so I can't read those stories and read those words and then think, but I can't do that for James. I do those things, and it can be during some of those times, if James is in the bath and I'm just there with him, making sure he's okay, and those can be really special moments. Those can be great times together, and James still loves me to tell him stories and sing songs that I was singing to him when he was 3. And now, nearly 16 years later, those same songs, those same stories, but he loves them, and that connection that those stories and those songs give, for him, he's there, his face lights up, he gets so excited, he just loves it. So there are times when I think, wow, James, you're nearly 19. I shouldn't have to be, doing this stuff for you. But, I do, and I have to. And because if I didn't, I'm the one who's at home with James during the day. I work at home most of my time. My wife's in primary education. So, James can't do that stuff for himself. I have to get on and do that. And just do. I think picking up on, AJ, what you were saying about those meetings and the times when you're there with the professionals and those big review meetings, I think they've learned now to introduce me by my name. Because what sometimes would happen is, you know, they'd be going around the table and introducing the different people that were here, and this is Dr. So-and-so, and this is Professor So-and-so, and this is head teacher So-and-so, and this is James's dad. And I go,
Yeah, exactly.
my name is Mr. Arnold. But I'll let you call me Mark, you know. Yeah, you know, they've learned now, but they need to, you know, we're equals in that meeting. We all bring stuff to those meetings, you know, whether we're a professional that's involved in James's healthcare or his education or whatever it might be, or as a parent carer, we're all on the same level. We're all equal when it comes to our involvement in James's care and support and what's happening to him. So yeah, that's something they've learned, is to yeah, not introduce me as James's dad.
Indeed, and I think one of the other things I say, you know, is the fact that yes, I respect you of my heart. You have gone to school, you've earned your degrees or whatever, but regarding my child, I am the expert, because you would do whatever you want to do and then you will leave out the door. I'm sitting there overnight, morning, day, afternoon, whenever. I am the one there. So you can only say the parts you have read in the books, relating it to my child. I will tell you about my child. And so, I mean, I attend most meetings that way. And I think maybe that's why, you know, it comes from. And parents are always, I mean, that way you say, parents are the experts when it comes to their children. And, you know, but indeed, that's why I want to have a feel for how, you know, fathers feel, you know, you dads feel with all those, and we have, you know, how much we have all those meetings and things, because, you know, and how much. And again, I will come to Ajisola in terms of, let me bring a little bit of culture in here now. And how do you deal with, because I know from, you know, the African culture, the father is expected to be the know all, do all, and be all in terms of decision making and things like that. So where is your own sense of culture in that regard? How do you deal with that aspect of your culture, of your person, and relation to what you're saying, like you were saying about the fact that, I mean, even some of the time you they listen to your wife more than, you know, they want to listen to you. So how do you handle that in regards to the culture? And I'll bring it down again to something else when Mark has also said, you know, in that. So if you hold your thoughts on that as well, Mark. Yes, please. Yeah, Ajisola.
Well, I think it's a personal thing, really, because for me, it's all been, there's been a change from, I'm not going to say that I've discarded the culture. I think now that isn't what is ruling my life anymore. That isn't what is dictating what I do. There is another culture that we get into when we identify with Christ and when we are called Christian. And that culture, like Mark has said earlier, is a culture where the most powerful being that can be can come in form of a man and can clean somebody else's feet. So to be honest with you, I think so that I don't go too much into the Bible, I think it's that way of life that has conditioned me now to a point where, as long as what needs to be done is done, I really don't mind by whom or who is taking the lead role or whatever. It really doesn't bother me. But what needs to be done needs to be done. That's the important thing for me. How it gets done, who says it, who's suggesting it, who takes the glory for it, blah, blah, blah. I really can't be fazed. But it needs to be done. So it's really been helpful. I really, really cannot say how much being a Christian has helped me in this journey. I really, really, really cannot say how much. I mean, I think of if I hadn't been a Christian, and it would have been a disaster. That's the honest truth, because there's so many things I wouldn't have been able to handle. But I know when I say this, I'm always careful, because I recognize the fact that some people listening may not be Christians. Some people listening may not have an understanding of what I'm saying. And but the truth of the matter is, when you know that the life you live is no longer yours, when you recognize the fact that you are carrying another person's identity, you are not your own anymore. It becomes culture and everything around it. Really, it's way down the line. It's not something that dictates or guides you or moves you in any direction, so to speak. So I've been able to deal with that part, and I've been able to put it in such a way now that it really doesn't, I mean, even when I'm with friends and other people who are talking to me from back in Africa, and they're like, how are you doing this? How can you allow this? How can this happen? How can that happen? I just smile. It's nothing to me anymore, because those things don't affect me anymore like they would have in the past. Because whatever you do to me now, you do to Christ. Whatever you say to me, whatever words you speak to me, as far as I'm concerned, he's the one. If he can take it, then why can't I? You know, so that's the way it is.
Wow. Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you so much for that. Yes. So, Mark, does culture have any input into what you do, or what you do you're not able to do regarding James at all?
I don't think it has. It certainly doesn't have an effect on me. I think there is still a perception in society that you know, the primary caring role is still the mother. You know, and I think that is shifting slowly, but is still very much there. You know, you know, in 2021, you know, with you know, just progress that we've made in so many ways with equality, that there is still nevertheless this perception that the primary caring role is for the mother of a child. So you know, that can be evidenced in, you know, when I'm turning up to those meetings that we've been talking about, and you know, the waiting room for those meetings, because there'll be a whole bunch of them happening, you know, at similar times, and there'll be lots of mums there, you know, and I'm the guy, and you know, I'm being eyed up suspiciously as to, well, why is he here, you know, and you know, so there is a little bit of that, but yeah, I mean, I ignore that, you know, really, and just crack on with what needs to be done, and it doesn't bother me at all. It really doesn't bother me at all. And you know, I think, well, okay, if me being here, if me being the one that's at the meetings and dealing with these things helps in some small way to shift that perception, and actually you know, model something, you know, with all my flaws and failings and getting things wrong nevertheless, that actually, you know, yeah, guys can be involved and do stuff too, then great, you know. And so yeah, I wish the culture was different, you know, in many ways, but it is what it is right now, and all we can do is you know, just do our bit and prayerfully do our bit to try and shift that and change that.
I think it's quite interesting you saying that, because I mean, I would want to say, oh, yes, I know so much about the African culture in regards to this, but to see that even, you know, with where we are, is there's still a little bit of that perception and that yes, that identity, that societal expectation that it should be more of the female. That, I mean, to be honest, I think that's quite that's similar, because in African culture as well, is, you know, the children are for the are for the mothers, and especially if you have anyone with disability, or much more for the mother, you know, I mean, you hardly would find, you know, yes, I mean, it will be tough. I would not say you will hardly find, I would say it will be tough, you know, and most men would probably want to do some things from the background, like, you know, give you money wherever you want to go, where I could, you know, get you the driver, get you, you know, financially support, but being there physically, you know, and taking the lead, or even in the house, giving the kind of support that, you know, AJ is talking about, and that you are also, you know, alluding to. It's quite it's not common, and if anything at all, I need to let you both know, and that's one of the things that, you know, I've looked at as well in trying to bring this out here in the open, to say that you guys are role model, and I dove my heart to you too, because yes, you're saying all these things, and you know, I will imagine that some people would actually listen to this and think, I don't think that's really real, you know, and maybe when I have, you know, want to, from what you're saying, it's so important for us to get this out there, so that we can see maybe other men could actually be encouraged and shift. If you could shift, you know, this perception a little bit, and let it move a little bit, it could really be helpful to so many homes out there, and that is one of the reasons why we're doing this. So thank you so much, you know, for bearing all this out, and I really appreciate this, and I do believe and trust that this will be helpful to some other people as well, male species.
I really hope so too. Really hope so too. And I think it does need some shifting. You know, it does need some shifting, and there's so many little things that show what that societal view still is that's out there. And I know that you know, at James's school, they will sometimes run different sort of training things. They'll get somebody in to do a talk and do some training that that parent carers can come along to, and it'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, and you know, the perception, the view is that, well, yeah, you know, there's going to be
the mom is home.
You know, a parent that's going to be coming to it because they're not working, or they're you know, their child's at school, so, and they're at home, so they can just come and do this training. And you know, time and time again, I've said, yeah, what about working families, you know, where maybe both parents are working, you know, and what about that situation? And it's like a blank look, you know, as if I'm just, you know, not connecting with their understanding of what, you know, parents, carers, you know, should be. And yeah, we just need to keep on keeping on and keep on trying to change that perception and change that view. And you know, it's important that we do. You know, here it's, you know, it's Team Arnold. You know, we as a team are working together to make things work for our family, and you know, that's all of us chipping in together and doing all that's needed to keep us moving forward and doing, you know, what we need to do and what God's called us to do. And yeah, you know, it's important that we get that message out there, that actually it's, yeah, you know, there are lots of different things in society that can conspire against parent carers and can conspire against dads that are in that caring role. And yeah, the more of us that are out there trying to change that, then yeah, the more likelihood is that it will change.
And so we just want to continue, and that's really one of, like I said, one of the major reason why we're doing this. So thank you so much. And I would I'm glad to say I'm almost letting you go now, but I know it's difficult to get you here like this. So when you're here, I better milk everything out as much as I can. And so I want to, this will be the last round, I promise. And is in regards to your personal, your social life. I mean, yes, you've been saying all these things, but you have a life. How are you living that life? How okay, let me start with this to say, what would your life be? Or how would your life have been different if you had not had, a child with disability? Let me put it in that direction. What will be different about your life, the way you live your life? What will be different about you if you have not had a child with disability? Shall I start with who is going to start? I know this is a bit of a tricky one, so I'll let whoever is ready to start should kick on.
Okay, so let me jump in then. I think for me, if James wasn't a part of our journey, then
Yes.
there would just be less planning. So you know how, for a lot of families, they'll say, hey, let's go out for a meal tonight. Let's go to the movies. Let's do whatever. And you just jump in the car and go. That's not us. That needs a lot of planning. That needs a lot of thinking. That needs a lot of, okay, we need to figure out how all of this is going to work, for everyone. And so maybe we'll plan to do that in 3 days time, and get everything organized to make it, and even then it may not work, but so I think there'd be a lot less planning and a lot more sort of impromptu, just doing stuff. But actually, because we have to plan, and because sometimes it still doesn't work and we don't manage to do the thing that we've been planning for, when those times come, when those opportunities to do something happen and it goes well, you value them more. You remember them, you savor them, because actually, there's been so much that's gone into making that happen, that it means more. It really does. So, if now things like the theatres are opening up, and and stuff like that. I live down in Bournemouth on the south coast. There's a great theatre in Poole, the next door town. My wife and I occasionally sneak out to go to something there, and we're like a couple of school kids that have snuck out of school. And we're looking at each other and thinking, oh, we're going to get caught in a minute. We're going to get told to go back home.
That sounds familiar.
And actually, those times are really, really important and special, and we don't take them for granted, because we know how hard-earned they can be, and how much prep has gone into it. And we've got to get somebody to come and care for James whilst we sneak out to somewhere, and and we'll be there with, how like in like cinemas and theaters, they don't want you to have your phone there, but we've got to have our phone there because it might ring, and we've got to leave and come back, but actually most of the time we don't. Most of the time we get to see the whole thing, and it's great, and we have ice cream, and it's just great. So I think we'd probably do more impromptu, just going out to stuff, but it wouldn't be as special as it is now, because of all that goes into making those times together, or a meal out or something. It's just they're hard earned, and they're really valued and important.
Is there anything you miss at all? I mean, sorry, this has been more direct. Is there anything you miss that you feel?
Wow. Anything I miss? I'm not sure there is, really. I'm not sure there
Yeah,
is. You know, I mean, there's so much stuff that we can fill our time with, isn't there? But actually, how much of it is valuable? You know, how much of it really matters when it comes down to it? You know, so I'm not sure there's you know, we don't really get to go on holiday. You know, we don't jump on a plane and go somewhere on holiday, really. Yeah, maybe that would be nice, to get to do that. But yeah, you know, that aside, I'm not sure there's a lot that we miss. You know, I think probably one thing that I would look back on the last really 19 years of James's life, and Phoebe's 2.5 years older, and maybe one thing that I would do differently if we had that time. Oh, that was really the thing that we missed the most. You know, maybe is, yeah, not getting those times. But yeah, that aside, I'm not sure. You know, there's much that we miss. I think what I was, if I had my time again, you know, the last sort of 18, 19 years of James's life, and with Phoebe being a couple of years older, I think I would have looked for more opportunities to do stuff and invest time in Phoebe, because so often all our energy can be on our child with additional needs, all the focus can be on them, and our other children, you know, we love them just as much, but maybe they don't get so much of our time. And maybe that's something that, yeah, you know, I would have liked to have done differently, maybe if I had my time again. But yeah, missing things, maybe jumping on a plane and going on holiday somewhere nice. We don't get to do that, but everything else we manage. It just takes a lot more prep and planning.
And that's part of the learning, isn't it, that we have, because you know, you get better with some of these things that you think, you know, and like you said, then the time becomes more valuable. Yeah. So Ajisola, have you had time to process now?
Well, I think my thinking wasn't really to get something, because I knew my answer right at the beginning. The honest truth is, I don't think I would miss anything, or I've missed anything, in the sense that it's, honestly, I don't think so. I think it's the individual. It's what you it's what you feel. I mean, when I'm home, when I'm with the family, yeah, sometimes I tell most of my colleagues, even at work, that I'm doing something I can do for free. The job I do, I enjoy it. I mean, my caring role, I enjoy it. People go on holidays to enjoy themselves and to relax and rest. Take out the rest part out of it. I mean, I get every other thing. So it's like every day is like, honestly, I don't think I'm missing anything. Yes, I would have loved to spend more time with the other girls. Sure. I would have loved to spend more time with my wife as well. But I mean, in totality, looking at it, I don't think I would change anything, to be honest. It's been yes, sometimes difficult, but it's really been exciting. I learn new things every day. I'm faced with new challenges. I don't know how people live without those challenges, really, because I wonder what the excitement is in life if you don't have them. Conquering one challenge after the other just gives me that extra buzz to go on. And the honest truth is, I wouldn't. I mean, I get sometimes people ask me, "Oh, would you trade this? Would you do that? Would you rather be here or there?" And I'm like, "No. I mean, I'm blessed where I am, and that's not me being speaking Christianese here, that's me really, really being factual. That I'm blessed where I am, and I feel blessed. I know I'm blessed. Would I have loved my daughter not to have special needs? Definitely. Because of the pain and all that I see her going through, of course I wouldn't have. But would I change anything with this special complex girl? Since it's not within my power to do anything about it? No. I mean, I'm just content where I am. So I think that's the word, being content where you are. And holidays, like Mark said, oh my days, when we're going on, I can't even remember the last holiday, but any talk of a holiday or a time out, you don't only plan, you also think about all you have to do to make it. The honest truth is, every holiday is like, it's even much more than work for me.
Wow.
Because I say that it's a lot of work planning, and then by the time you go on the holiday, you end up ensuring every other person has fun, and then you are waiting. Oh God, let's finish this holiday so I can get back to the real one, and then just go back. So it's for me, it's not something I miss. That's the honest truth.
You need a holiday to get over the holiday.
Exactly. So going out spontaneously, that never happens. No, that never happens. You have to plan. And then, yes, like Mark said, when you do have those outings, they're memorable. You don't forget them in a hurry. And you learn a lot from those outings, and most of them I can still remember them. I don't remember too many things, but most of them I can still remember them. And the impact, that's what they are. They impact you differently every single time you get to do it. And I think it's one of the things that gives you a story. It gives you a story to tell. It gives you a story that people listen to and they're like, really, really, really. I mean, some people cannot comprehend it. And so when we tell this story, when we tell them that we're living through this, when we tell them that we're not faced by this, when we tell them that we enjoy life even in this. I was out with some colleagues at work. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago actually. And then we were just having lunch, and my other colleague who knew I had a child with special needs was telling the newer one that he doesn't know how I live, that every time he sees me and he talks to me, it's just, he can't understand it. And the other one was like, so why do you always do this? And he said, I have a picture of my daughter on my phone. It's my screensaver. And so he just grabs my phone and he shows it to him. And for the next 15, 20 minutes, this gentleman couldn't say anything. He just kept staring at me. I mean, it was like, he just kept staring. He was not part of the group anymore. I mean, we were laughing, we were talking, but he couldn't do anything. He just kept looking at me. And then afterwards, when we were walking back to the office, it was like, AJ, I didn't know you were going through so much. I said, what? Going through what? What? And then it was like, with your daughter and all that. I was like, no. I'm just blessed where I am. And he's like, you smile, you laugh every time. How do you do it don't you think that? And he was trying to get the story, and I was just laughing about it. And up till this morning, when he sent me a text message, he was still like, you're wonderful. And he still kept on like that, so it's a thing of joy, to be honest. It's nothing to be sad about. It's a thing of joy to have a child with special, I mean, you call them special because they are really special. And that's the word. They are really special, and we are blessed to have them. We are really, really blessed that God thought of us so highly that he placed special children in our hands. it's a blessing. It's nothing less than that.
Amen.
Wow. I don't know where to go again now with all my questions, but I mean, those are just so deep, you know, the way you put all of them. But
you are exalted.